Today's podcast is brought to you by Audible. Get a free audiobook download and 30-day free trial at www.audibletrial.com/Swirl Suite. Over 180,000 titles to choose from for your iPhone, Android, Kindle, or MP3 player.
Welcome to the Swirl Suite, everybody. So we have a special episode today. We're here at the Wine Down on 8th Street, and we have a special guest. How are you?
I'm fine, thanks. Nice being here. Yeah.
We're happy to have you.
Yeah.
So please introduce yourself to everybody.
Okay, so my name is Charl Coetzee, and I'm the cellar master at Babylonstoren in South Africa, from South Africa. And
Wow, okay.
Welcome.
thanks.
Welcome. We're happy to have you.
So what brings you to DC?
Well, we've got, we sell our wines here, so this is sort of like a marketing trip for me. So, you know, every time I come to the States, I normally sort of like we plan a trip, and sometimes DC is on the map, and so we just come and visit sort of like places that sell our wines, sort of like show the support, and also try to gain some new clients while I'm in town.
Gotcha.
So now, are your wines in any particular area of the United States more than another? So is it more on the Mid-Atlantic coast into Virginia, Maryland, DC, or New York, or West Coast, or all?
Yeah, I think we are fairly well represented on the East Coast.
Okay.
So New York, Georgia, Florida, then more west Mississippi, as far as Denver. And then the western market, we've got a small market in California, which we are hoping to grow now, so that's why we're off to San Diego tomorrow. But yeah, so we're fairly well, sort of like, we're in North Carolina, we've got a small market, Boston, yeah, so yeah.
That's pretty It's pretty broad.
Expensive,
Yeah,
yes.
that's pretty broad. Sarita and I recently took a master class at the South Africa Embassy, and so we had an opportunity to learn just a cup size of South Africa wines, and they were saying that, and tell me if this is true, that they're looking for a national brand, that there isn't a national South African brand. So is that true? Is there someone that is like the Mondavi of the Cape, or?
Yeah, you know, it's true. I mean, I think, in my personal opinion, I think every wine producing country is looking for that. And every wine producing country has got like a body, like we've got Wines of South Africa, who's trying to sort of like, who's promoting this. And it would be very nice, you know, if I could tell you that we do have something like that, but you know, it's difficult because there's so many wineries in South Africa, and everybody is sort of like fighting for a piece of the market that's out there. And so yeah, I think in the back of our minds, we are all promoting South Africa as a brand, but then at the same time, you know, everybody is fighting for that little bit for the market. And yeah, so I wouldn't say that there's like a body that's doing this sort of like, yeah, but I think in the back of our minds, everybody is pushing South Africa as far as we can. Yes. Yeah.
Do you, so your wines, is there like a flagship varietal, or do you have across the spectrum? As you can see here, this is a Mourvedre Rosé. Do you produce other varietals, or in is one varietal?
Yeah,
more of a flagship?
so on Babylonstoren, we've got 13 varietals planted.
Okay.
And we've got a fairly small portfolio, which is very easy to remember. So that's 3 whites, 3 reds, 1 rosé, and a sparkling.
Oh.
Comes in a different packaging. It's a burgundy bottle. It's antique green, and it's got an actual label on it. So we cover like the whole spectrum, like unoaked, slightly oaked. And the reason we've got Chenin Blanc, for instance, so the Chenin Blanc is supposed to be sort of like the fresh, crisp white in the portfolio. The reason we've got Chenin Blanc is like in our area where we are situated, it's slightly warmer, it's like a warmer area. So we chose to go for Chenin Blanc rather than Sauvignon Blanc because Chenin Blanc just fits the profile. And then obviously Chardonnay is the white wine that sort of like most winemakers put into oak.
Yes.
And the reason, so you put it into oak, so obviously that's a full-bodied wine, so that's the reason why we choose that as a flagship. Okay? So then we've got the rosé, which is made from Mourvedre, and the reason we use Mourvedre is because we don't use it in any one of our red wines. At the time when we made the first one, so we had our first harvest in 2011, and at the time there was only one or two other cellars that I could think of that made a rosé from Mourvedre. So we thought, okay, well, we're also going to do it, because I think these days, I think there's like 6 to 7 wineries that does it, so it's grown in popularity. Yes, yeah. Okay, and then on the reds, so as I told you, we've got like a lot of varietals planted. So we've got all 5 Bordeaux reds on the farm: Cabernet Sauvignon, Cabernet Franc, Malbec, Petit Verdot, Merlot, and Shiraz. So what we do is our flagship red, which has got a similar packaging as the Chardonnay, anti-green bottle, not a burgundy shape, but so with a paper label, which we call it the Nebuchadnezzar. And the reason we call it that, okay, so that's a Bordeaux blend of the 5 Bordeaux varietals. So a classic Bordeaux blend of all 5. And the reason we call it the Nebuchadnezzar is on Babylonstoren. So Babylonstoren, the name means Babylon's tower, or the Tower of Babel. And on Babylonstoren, on our property, we've got an 8-acre fruit and vegetable garden, which is basically what differentiates us from all the other properties around us, because it's a very popular feature where people come on daily guided garden tours, and everything in the garden is edible. So we grow what we serve to people. And so Nebuchadnezzar, he was the emperor of Babylon in the 6th century before Christ. And he was also the guy that was known to have built the Hanging Gardens of Babylon, which is one of the 7 wonders of the world. So we decided, well, we are Babylonstoren, we've got a garden, so that's our flagship red. And then we've got a straight Shiraz, 100% Shiraz. And then we've got another blend, which we call Babel. And that's a blend of Shiraz plus the 5 Bordeaux. So what we would do is we would allocate all the best 5 Bordeaux components for the Nebuchadnezzar, for the flagship, the best Shiraz for the Shiraz, and then everything we've got left we blend into the Babel. And lately we've planted, well not lately, in 2014 we planted a block of Pinotage on the farm as well. And so we were able to make the first bigger batch of Pinotage last year. So from the 2017 vintage of Babel, we're also going to add Pinotage to that. So that's going to be then a blend of the 7 varieties.
Is this 100% good?
This is 100%.
Nice.
So how exactly did you get into winemaking in the first place? Is it something that's passed down from your family?
No, not at all. So I'm originally born Namibian. So I grew up in Namibia, which is the country on top of South Africa.
Oh, right. Yeah.
My family still lives there.
Wow.
And I mean, Namibia is not known for winemaking at all. It's more of like, it's a farming country, but it's like farming with livestock. So, but I always say I didn't come from a winemaking family, I come from a wine drinking family.
That helps.
Yeah. So it was just something that sort of like I took an interest in, and so when I finished my studies, I had this sort of like, I didn't want to sit in an office one day, so the winemaking profession sort of like, it was a nice option for me, because you work outside, and it's a nice industry to be in. You travel the world and all of that. So so when I went to university, University of Stellenbosch, I decided to study winemaking. So that's how I got into the whole winemaking.
And I read that you studied winemaking in Greece and Romania.
No, I didn't study it. So after I finished my studies, my first winemaking job, or the cellar that I worked for, it's a winery called Kaapzicht Wine Estate in South Africa. They make one of the best Pinotages.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so remember the name if you want to.
Yeah.
And so I worked there for 5 years. I was first the assistant winemaker, and then later on became the winemaker, but then it was 5 years. And then every year the owner gave me a month off to go and do a harvest anywhere in the world. So I did my first one was in Burgundy in France, and then I went to Romania, and then to New Zealand, and then to Greece, and then to Germany. So I did harvests in all those countries. Yes.
That's amazing.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's nice.
What?
So I saw the pear in the bottle.
Yes.
Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, so Babylonstoren is a very diverse property. So we've got a farm hotel on the property, a 5-star farm hotel. We've got this 8-acre fruit and vegetable garden that I told you about. We've got 2 restaurants. One is sort of like a garden restaurant in the form of a greenhouse, and then a formal restaurant, sort of like which we also call Babel. And we've got a winery there. We make our own wines. We make our own olive oil. So we've got an olive press. We make our own balsamic vinegar. We bake our own breads in wood-fired ovens. We make our own jams, preserves, and cordials. So basically, we try to do everything ourselves. And we've also got a distillery where we distill spirits. So in South Africa, where if you distill a spirit from a grape, from fermented grape juice, we call it witblitz. If you translate it directly, it means sort of like almost like white lightning.
White lightning.
Yes, and I think that gives you the idea of how strong it is. And if you take any other fruit, like pears or apples or anything, and you ferment that and you distill it, we call it mampur. And that's just a name that I think it was the king or the chief of one of the black tribes in South Africa, and his name was Mampuru. And he was the first to sort of like distill, or I don't know if he did it by accident or I don't know. And so it's just sort of like to remember so we call it Mampur. And so what we do is we distill a pear Mampur. But what we do is the little glass bottle in which we would sort of like put this spirit. When the pears are growing on the trees, so when the fruit just starts to form, we would put the bottle around it. And so as the fruit physically grows, it grows inside the bottle. And as soon as it's ripe, then we would like pick it off, and then we would fill the bottle with pear mampur, and then we sell it in that like that. So it's just sort of like an interesting way of presenting it.
I think it's great. There's if you go to his website, there's a video, and it shows the glass bottle and how that happens.
Yeah. So if you come to the farm in pear season, you'll see that all the pear trees in the garden has got these bottles around there.
All the pears are being held hostage. What is going on?
Yeah. Because there's no other way that you can get the pear into the bottle.
Right, it's like getting the ship in the bottle.
Yes.
So if someone wanted, this is usually Sarita's line. So if someone wanted to get in touch with you or to find you on social media, where would they go?
Would you mind me taking out a business card and I can choose the business card?
Outstanding.
And let me so there's all our social media handles.
Okay.
Is it try to focus? Yeah, there you
Nice.
go.
Well done.
Yeah, well it's
Well done.
but you'll get the idea. So
Okay.
so on social media and obviously the website, which is just www.babylonstoren.com.
Okay.
You'll find all the information there now. That's out of Zoom.
Oh, it's okay.
Okay.
I can see clearly.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for joining us.
No, it's a pleasure.
And we're looking forward to tasting your wine in a second.
Yes.
Yes.
Cool.
Thank
All
you. It was a
Thanks for having
pleasure.
me. Thank you.
Well, guys, that wraps up the show. You can follow Charl at Babylonstoren on all social media. That's Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and even LinkedIn. And check out their beautiful website at Babylonstoren.com. And don't forget to follow the Swirl Suite on all social media at Swirl Suite. And you can follow all of our podcasts wherever you find your podcasts. Again, this episode is brought to you by Audible. Get your free trial at audibletrial.com/swirlsuite. Cheers.